This is the Good Neighbor Podcast, the place where local businesses and neighbors come together. Here's your host, Jeremy Wolf.
Hello, friends, family, wonderful community. We are back for another episode of the Good Neighbor Podcast. Today, I would like to welcome to the show a lovely lady that I met, 4 or 5 months ago, I'd say, over at a local networking group in Cooper City. And as I often do when I meet people that provide services for our wonderful community, I offered an olive branch and said, hey, why don't you come on the show so we could learn a little bit more about what you do and what you offer. So without further ado, I'm joined by Marifer Vergara. Marifer is with USA Mortgage Homes. Marifer, good to see you.
Good. Thank you so much for having me. Good morning.
Of course. Good morning. So everybody, I think most people probably know what a mortgage broker does, right? Pretty simple. You need money, you go to a mortgage broker, you take a loan against your house or get financing to buy a house. But I think that's very surface level. So Marifer, tell us a little bit about what you do specifically as a mortgage broker.
Yes, I'm an independent mortgage broker. So that puts me in a different path than saying when I used to work for Chase or Bank of America. As an independent mortgage broker, I currently work with about 200 banks. And so my job is to find the right loan for my client's situation.
Got it. Okay. So when you say independent, obviously there are mortgage brokers that work directly within the bank. So if you go to Chase for a loan, they are giving you a loan, obviously from Chase. It's one bank, their whatever products they have. Whereas you as an independent broker, you now have access to, like you said, 200 different banks. So you could shop around, you could really get competitive rates, and you could do a lot more for the client than if they just went through like a one-dimensional approach. I got that right?
That's correct. I used to be one of those people that worked for Chase, Bank of America, and trying to process loans, but the banks are very strict. They want the perfect customer, and they don't understand that perfect customer doesn't exist anymore. Most people are self-employed. They have different sources of income that the banks don't usually accept. And my role as an independent mortgage broker is just, I negotiated with all the banks that I have relationships with. And I said, well, here are the terms of my client, take it or leave it. And when I was working for Chase and Bank of America and Chase would be like, this is our terms, you take it or leave it. And I think that with an independent mortgage broker, it's a way better experience for the client.
So why, I'm thinking out loud here, why would somebody go, I guess if you have a relationship, obviously, with your bank and you have all your accounts there and you've been with them for a while, you go to the bank to get that, to get a loan done. But why would somebody opt to do that as opposed to going to somebody that can shop around to many different institutions?
Because they don't know that people like me are around to help them.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. They don't know that there are people like me, independent mortgage brokers, whose job is to shop around their loans and make the banks, create custom mortgages for our clients. They just don't know that. They think that you need mortgage, you just go straight to the bank. And my banks will offer better terms. These are the wholesalers. These are the real lenders. These are the people with the money in their hands. So they're always going to be, about half a point or a point cheaper than any other banks. And for example, I have a bank that will take your crypto as a down payment. Really? Chase, Bank of America, they won't do that. Yeah, it's fantastic, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting. You hear that out there? If you're looking to get a loan, don't just default and go to your bank. I mean, you could go there and start there and have a conversation, but take that rate and then go contact someone like Marifer and have it shopped around and find. It seems like so obvious to me.
Yeah,
anyway.
It's just my job. That's why I go around and I try to educate everyone that I meet with this is our role. I used to be in those banks. I used to be that person, and I'm telling you, I will give you better service now, better rate, a better experience than a bank that I could have done for you when I worked for one of those big banks.
Yeah, not to mention the fact that the person that works within the bank is typically a salaried employee, and it's just their job to do it. Whereas what you do, you're an entrepreneur, you're running your business, you're growing your business, you have an added layer of incentive to go out there and get the best deal for your client because you're relying on future referrals.
Exactly. Yes.
Love
when
it.
I worked for the bank, my hands were tied in a lot of ways. And it was not a fun experience that after you talk to the client and you got all the paperwork and you're like, this is a done deal. Absolutely. Then, the bank will just bring it back to you with a note saying not approved. And I couldn't come up with a new strategy. I couldn't help the customer, right? It'll be denied. Now I sit down, I'm like, this is our strategy. This is what we're going to do. So we'll find a way to get that person in the home of their dreams.
Now, are you doing primarily residential loans here in like Florida? Or I know you probably have to get licensed to do this. Do you do this beyond just Florida? What is your like ideal client avatar, if you will?
Mm-hmm. Well, I work with my first-time home buyers, families, self-employed people to buy the home of their dreams. And my license is in the entire state of Florida. But my company, we have licenses in Washington, D.C., Maryland, Virginia, New York, New Jersey, California, Arizona, Las Vegas, and Texas. So we're very spread around. And again, if there's a way that we can put you in the house of your dreams, we'll find it.
Explain to me the dynamic, just so I have a better understanding. When you said my company, this is USA Mortgage Homes. So you're an independent broker or an agent through USA Mortgage Homes? Just because I think there's in my head anyway, there's this a little bit of confusion around what it means to be a broker versus just an agent versus, again, employee for the bank. Could you kind of go through those distinctions and kind of clear the mess in my head, if you will?
An employee for the bank is just basically an application taker, just a document collector. And the bank and the retail and the bank, they have a processing department, and those are the real underwriters, the people that really write the loans. They're the ones that make the decisions. You never get to see them. I never got to even talk to them. It was all emails or memos that we sent back and forth. So there's no one you talk to be like, their wife has this money, their dad is going to give. There's no way to tell an underwriter the special circumstances on a scenario.
It's black or white.
It's just black and white. Do you fit our criteria as a customer? Yes, no, go back. Okay. And I'm not an agent. I'm a broker, and my license, I have to hang it with a brokerage, with a mortgage company, and so my license is hanged with USA Mortgage Homes. So I'm an independent broker, but of course, the company I have my license with, they of course have relationships with. I have relationships with banks, and they have relationships with many more banks. So together, that's how I get the 200 banks that I work with right now.
Leveraging all tools available. When you say hang your license with the company, what does that mean exactly? When you hang your license, you have to have, like, you couldn't, if you're a mortgage broker and you don't hang your license with a larger entity, you can't operate independent of that? No,
you could. I absolutely, you totally can. I know some people that work that way, but I'm a people person. I really enjoy, if there's one thing I know, is that I don't know everything. So I really enjoy relying on the experience of the people that I work with. They have over 40 years of experience doing just this. And we sit down and we come up with a strategy for our clients. And I think that that's very valuable, because I don't know everything. I don't know every product out there. I don't know every strategy out there. But I do know that I'm surrounded by people that know way more than I do. And together, three heads are better than one.
Well, you may not know everything, Marifer, but I do. So, yeah, right. Okay, so that makes sense. So you have access to the larger, so almost like, I don't want to say, I mean, for lack of a better word, like a franchise type concept where you have like a larger entity to draw from in terms of like their access to the lending network, maybe some of their marketing stuff, some of their advice, some of their, things that work for agents, that kind of thing. Obviously not a franchise, but the same type of idea, maybe.
Similar to that. They provide a lot of support for me and for my clients, which I appreciate them. When you're a one-person company, you're not going to be able to dedicate the same amount of attention to every single customer. It's just not going to happen because you're just one person. That's one of the reasons I'm part of a team, because I do want my customers to be able to call me or our assistant or people that can answer the questions 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. There's someone always on to answer our clients' calls. Yeah. And that's very important to us. It's very important for people in this business.
That makes sense. It's the best. Sounds like the best of both worlds to me.
Yeah, absolutely is. I really, really enjoy working this model.
Okay, so you mentioned you worked for the banks before. Did you go directly into finance out of college? Is that what you studied in school and you said, this is what I want to do? Talk a little bit about your path that got you to where you're at.
I'm Colombian, and my parents, when I graduated from high school, my dad sent me over here because he wanted me to study here in the United States. And I chose
What part of Colombia are you from?
I'm from Barranquilla, Colombia.
I was expecting like Bogota, Medellin.
No, I'm from the best part. The best part of Colombia. The best part of Colombia, Barranquilla, is on the coast. It's the place where Shakira, Sofia Vergara, me, and many more amazing people are from. We have the second biggest carnival, second biggest to the one in Brazil. So it's carnival year round. It's such a fun place to live. People are amazing. And it's only an hour and a half away on a flight from Miami, and very bilingual, a super bilingual city. So it's a great place to visit, great place to raise a family. I'm very proud of coming from over there.
Only an hour and a half from Miami?
Absolutely.
So that's it's like super north. I'm trying to picture in my mind.
We have a nickname for our hometown. We call it Kiyami, and that stands for our hometown is Miami's backyard. That's the nickname. We're the backyard of Miami because it's kind of the same life. Yeah. So my dad sent me over here, and it was really funny. My dad is like, I wanted you to perfect your English, and you're pretty much hanging out with everybody from back at home. So I was like, well, Dad, yeah. So yeah, they're here. I bump into everywhere. It's him, our friends. So my dad said, no problem. I'm gonna send you up north so you can perfect your English. And so my dad sent me to the University of Virginia. I didn't even know where Virginia was. He sent me, and it's Charlottesville. And I said, is that near Georgia? And my dad said, way north. And so he sent me over there, and I was studying international business. But after 2 years, it's a small town, and every closes at like 10 in the evening. So I was telling my dad, like, I'm losing my mind. This place is so boring. And I was lucky enough to transfer to Marymount University in the Washington, D.C. area. And when I graduated from my international business degree, I took a job, believe it or not, for the money laundering department at Bank of America. Yes. I was uniquely qualified for the job. So they said to me.
Why were you uniquely qualified for the job? There's something we should know?
Not at all. Not at all. Just being Colombian, you just know things that I guess people here don't know. No, but that was I was plucked right out of college to start working for Bank of America. So I was in the money laundering department, and I had to write policies and procedures to address the money laundering. And then on the same floor, it was the real estate services department, and the head of that department ended up recruiting me out of money laundering. And that's how I started just being in wealth management and taking care of the real estate for all the private bank clients. It was a really interesting position because when you're in that area, you're dealing with deeds that were drawn in like 1700s. So you still see names that you recognize from history books. You see like the families are still owning that land. And you see that it's very interesting. They will have like 100-year lease on a land, and on top of it will be another lease, and there's a current building sitting over there, and you have to collect all sorts of taxes and make sure they were all paid off. So it was really, really, really interesting, and I enjoyed it very much, and I learned so much in real estate.
Hold on, I want to stop you there for a second. My mind is spinning here.
Yeah,
Why were you encountering deeds from 1700? And
right.
you mentioned like historical figures. Were there any in particular that stood out to you? Did you see like a deed that had like Washington on it or something like that?
I just don't remember right now the actual name, but it was one of the people that were, um, so the land where Washington D.C. is sitting right now, that used to be owned by, I think, the George Washington's family, and it was just donated to make Washington D.C. So there was a lot of documents that I had to see that were related to the lands around it. And it's interesting that the 100-year lease, and then they had to pay like 3 pennies, right? Because back then that was what that was a good amount of money. So I would have to like just collect and pay all those property taxes, and really learn about the property. Sometimes I had to do deed research and go to the actual courthouses and wear, the white gloves as to not damage the actual deed, and take photos, bring them back to me, authenticate them. It was like playing detective,
Very
with real
fascinating.
estate.
I'm still, and maybe I'm a little slow here. I'm still having a hard time understanding how that was coming up in the course of what you were doing for work, how you were encountering deeds from 1700. Could you elaborate a little bit further on that? I'm not.
So my job was the real estate services in the wealth management division.
Okay.
So the clients, the Bank of America clients in that Washington D.C. area, and my office was diagonal to the White House. It was really cool to, get out of the train and just see the White House and be like, and walk the other way to your job. So our clients were people that, owe money, people whose families have been here since the revolution. And just because there was a revolution, that didn't mean that their property got transferred. No, that the property is still their property. It's just that instead of calling the colony of Virginia, I mean, it's still called the Commonwealth of Virginia. It's just that now it's the jurisdiction of the United States of America. So that land is still owned by some of these old families still. So that's how I got to the point of having to do all this work with real estate. That was really, really interesting. One of the things that I did was Washington D.C. is on 16 Pennsylvania Avenue. So the good side of Pennsylvania Avenue is the east. The west side, the east side was really bad at the time, really bad. And all the houses over there were just falling apart. And some of my clients own that land. So it was really interesting having to, you had to send people that know this old construction. They try to save a lot of those houses because they're historical, but some of those houses could not be saved, and then they had to develop. They were allowed to be sold, torn down, and develop new buildings in the area. But what in Washington D.C. what they do the most is they try to preserve as much as the old building as possible. So sometimes you will just see the facade of the historical house, and inside will be a giant building. That's really, really cool to see.
So you moved up there to Virginia, D.C., Maryland area, and then obviously you're down here now. When did you come back to Florida? Was it after school?
So I was working for Bank of America in the private bank.
First job.
Right. And then I started getting calls from some family members that were reaching that level of wealth. Hey, I heard that, when you reach this level of wealth, the bank gives you a different level of services. Yes, we do. And then I started signing up some of these people as my clients to the bank. And eventually they became so many from Florida, from Miami, that I just transferred down here to.
You got sucked back into the orbit of sunny Miami.
You got to go where the client is, right? If your client is in Miami and your client wants to see you, it's cheaper for the bank to send me to Florida to live than sending me on an airplane once or twice a week just so I can have meetings with my clients.
So you mentioned some family members started to come into some money. There's one in particular that you have a relationship with. Am I not mistaken?
My first big client as wealth management was my cousin Sofia Vergara. So I thank her for being my first big client fresh out of my promotion from real estate into an actual account manager in wealth management. So she was a very big supporter in my career, and the relationships that she brought to me will allow me to come back to Miami and just be the their account manager for her and the other celebrities from her agency that she represents.
Did you grow up? Did you grow up with her in Colombia? I mean, she's your cousin, right? So you grew up.
Yes.
So okay, so I'm sure you need to be selective here. Obviously, she's a star. Surely you must have a story or two you could share publicly.
I imitate her perfectly.
What's that?
She loves it. I imitate her perfectly, and she loves it. She thinks it's the funniest thing in the world. Like she will walk and I'll be behind her, talking like her, making the same faces. And there was a time when people thought I was her sister because I was with her pretty much every single day, and they would take pictures of us and like her sister and her eating lunch, or her sister and her fighting in a store in Miami. And none of that was true. It was just her and I shopping, laughing, discussing things. Just.
So are we going to hear the impression or no?
Yes, you do want me to make the impression, but I do it very well. Yes, easy, yes.
I love
it. I was working for the bank, and then she said, I depend so much on you, and I cannot trust anybody else. And she said, my manager wants me to go to LA and be a film star. And she's like, I don't want to go up there without someone that I trust. And then she said, why don't you come with me? I trust you, and you're my cousin, and I know that you will never betray me, and you will work twice as hard as anybody else. And then I took her offer. And I moved with her to LA. And
it's an offer you can't refuse.
An offer you can't refuse. You don't let your family down. And I knew that she needed my help. And her mom, my mom, like just everybody was like, please, this is meant to be. So then I just became her assistant, and I was doing that for about 3 years. I did everything with her and for her. And I'm very happy and very proud of her for the success that she's in right now.
So what's it like being on the side of a star like that? I'm sure our listeners would like to know. 3 years you spent with her. Walk us through. You get out to LA. What does that look like? What is the day in the life?
When we first moved to LA, nobody knew who she was.
Oh, okay.
Nobody knew who she was. The only people that knew who she was just like other Latin people that have seen her on Univision, or purchased her calendars, have seen her on TV in Mexico and Colombia. So those people knew who she was. And I will never forget this episode. We were at the Beverly Hills Hotel, and we were waiting on her. We were waiting for her car in the valet parking line. And there were all these super famous people. I remember there was this producer named Mike G, who was really big at the time. I remember Sylvester Stallone was also in the line waiting on their car. There was other people and us. And I will never forget all those people with their valet ticket in their hand. And the first car that comes is her car. And everyone in the line, when they saw her car and they see us, and everybody's like, Sofia, can I get you signed? And she's like, of course, and taking photo. And I'm like, thank you very much. Ay, gracias, thank you. All these super famous people are like, who is that? Who's that girl? Why is she getting her car? And everybody's like doing like this. And I got in the car. Sofia closes the door, and I'm like, Sofia, you're so going to make it. We're going to make it, girl. We're so going to make it. And she's like, how do you know? I'm like, I know. And we drove away, and it was, from that point on, it was really great. It was really good for her.
The writing was on the wall.
The writing was on the wall.
That. You just said it's going to be. This is the path.
And being with her was really fun. I got to see a seat filler for a lot of award shows. That's really cool.
A seat filler?
When you are at the Oscars, and when you are at one of those award shows, there's a policy that when the camera goes over the audience, it should never, ever, ever be an empty seat.
Yeah.
But sometimes people go to the bathroom. Sometimes people need to get a phone call. Sometimes somebody doesn't want to be sitting there at the time. And so I mean, I would just be standing. I'd be like, "You go sit over there." I'd be like, "Okay,
Okay.
I'm on TV, like, clapping as if I belong in the room."
That's funny.
Yeah.
Are you still close with her now? Do you speak to her often?
Yes. Not as often on the phone as we used to. But sometimes she's like she's in vacation in Europe. Last time she told me she was on vacation in Europe. I think it's 6-8 hours difference. And so, we send each other jokes. Whenever I have something funny, I just send it to her. And she loves my children. So I appreciate that she's always asking about them, and inviting us over to her house in LA. So she's really a good family member. Really happy to have her in my corner.
Perfect segue into children. How old are your kids?
I have 2 kids. My son is 17 and my daughter is about to turn 14.
Okay, so we have something in common there because my daughter just turned 14. You've already been, so you said you said 2 daughters, right?
A son and a daughter, yeah.
Son. Okay, so you haven't had a 14-year-old. You've been a 14-year-old girl.
I've been a 14-year-old.
So
I'm scared.
What is going, like, are you having any issues yet? I know the teen years can be formidable, especially for young ladies. Are you having any, I guess, issues for lack of a better word in terms of?
So far nothing, but I'm scared because at 14 I'm supposed to have some, but not. My daughter she's into golf, so she's a really good golfer.
Oh, that's nice.
And so I think that she's, having her mind focused on golfing, and she has a lot of good friends. So
yeah, that's so important.
Yeah,
keeping them
active. I think it's that. I think for kids to be active and have a lot of relationships, friends, family, or your parents' friends, your extended circle of influence is very important. I grew up with so many people around my life that I truly believe that it helps you mature. You have some people to ask advice to, so I'm lucky that my kids have people from different backgrounds to reach out to.
I'm running up against this thing with parenting now as the kids get older and start to spread their wings and start to be more independent. Like, obviously it's depends on the family and the parents. Everybody has different rules and different expectations for their kids. But at some point, all kids start moving away and hanging out with their friends and staying over their friends' houses and going out to the mall and hanging out. And I don't know, like, where that line is of what's acceptable and what's not acceptable and when it becomes acceptable at 14, because the kids now, like some of the people, like, she's in a very like popular clique, and her friends, they go out and they hang out with like groups. The other night she had a whole group of kids, 14-year-old kids, that were like hanging out at Hollywood Beach, just kids, and and I don't know what's right or wrong there. I'm just obviously figuring out as I go. So always interested in having conversations around this to get other perspectives from parents.
Yeah. I'm going to tell you that I learned my dad was like, I'm going to teach you the secret, the super secret.
What's the secret?
And I was like, what's the secret? And my dad's like, you got to make sure that your house is the place where the kids want to hang out. That way they're in that you can see what they're doing. You can hear what they're saying, right? My dad's so Colombian. And so I'm lucky. The kids, my kids' friends, they love hanging out here. And I wine them and dine them. I'm like, you want popcorn? Like, you want pizza? So the kids, they love hanging out here. They're not as adventurous as yours. They won't go to like Hollywood Beach unless it's like, I don't know, a birthday or someone has a party over there. But my kids, mostly, they just like hanging out here in Cooper City with their local friends. I'm very lucky. They're very chill.
Do you live in Cooper City then?
I live in Cooper City. Yes, I love it here. I've been living here for as long as my daughter was born here in Cooper City. So it's 14 years. 15 years.
Or what neighborhood do you live in Cooper?
I live in the Montera community. That is on like Sterling Road and Pine Island.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Montera's a really fun community.
My daughter is always over in Montera. She has a bunch of friends. There's a lot of kids there. And then, like you said, it's best to have the kids at your house if you can. And those are nice houses. So my daughter has always wanted to go to friends' houses over there.
Yeah, they just, it's a nice neighborhood. They can ride their bicycles, walk around. There's a park that runs through the community. So I taught my children how to ride their bicycles, and they would ride their bicycles, and I wouldn't have to be afraid of them getting hit by a car or anything else. So I really like this community. I'm very lucky. My husband and I were by complete accident driving, and we saw that this used to be like a milk farm back in the day.
So you got it. You bought in when they were constructing Montero?
Yeah.
How long ago
they were
was that?
14, 15 years ago. Yeah. But I used to live in Davie, and I remember that this whole thing used to be a cow farm, and you would drive by and see, cowboys and their horses. It was quite the sight in the middle,
that was
university.
a hell of an investment right there. Getting into a community like Montero 14 years ago, I can only imagine the appreciation on those homes over that time.
Mm-hmm. We were very lucky. We're very lucky.
Gone up like 3x over that time, I'd imagine.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Good for you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, Marifer, I want you to pull out your crystal ball. You got it? You got it handy?
Yep.
Okay. What can we expect with interest rates in the future? I know there's a big meeting happening today. I've heard talks. I've been completely unplugged from the news and from like everything that's going on. So I'm in my own bubble. But there's a lot of uncertainty. I know there's mortgage rates have been high. They've come down. Honestly, I don't even know where they're at right now. Where are we at now? And in your opinion, or according to your crystal ball, where are we going?
Well, we have a new Fed chair that was just sworn in this morning or yesterday. So people in this industry were really excited about this guy. And yes, it is true that the interest rates, because of all the uncertainty that our country's in right now, the interest rates have been climbing up a bit. We're hoping that this new guy has fresh ideas that we're going to be able to see in a few months. We're going to hopefully see some interest rates coming down and offering clients an easier way into getting a home. But I always tell my clients, don't worry about the interest rate. It is not about the interest rate. It is about the payment. Can you afford this payment? Are you paying? I have clients that are paying $2,700 in rent. $2,700 is a mortgage payment. You don't have a down payment? Don't worry. I got plans. I got programs that they lend you the down payment. Some of them, they will gift you the down payment after 3 years. I'll always tell you, get in the house on your dream. That house that is 10 minutes away from your job and 15 minutes away from your kids' schools or your other important place, that house is going to be sold, and it's not going to come back in the market for another 7-10 years. But I can always refinance you into lower interest rates. So I always tell my clients, it's not about the rate, it is about the payment. So having said that, we're hoping that in the next few months, we start seeing some interest rates coming down.
I want to press back on that for a second, just to clear something up in my head here about the idea of, and I agree with you that the right time to buy is when you find the right property and you can make it work for sure, because you can't time anything. You can't see, you can't see what's happening in the future. So, but the idea of getting into a loan and then just saying, oh, well, if the interest rate is high, we could just refinance out of it later. That, like the way the loans are amortized, right, is that you're paying a lot of the interest up front and not much of the principal down. So if you did that, like you wouldn't necessarily want to refinance too deep into the loan, because then now you're resetting everything and you're paying all the interest up front again for a new 30 years. Do I have that right?
Absolutely. We only do that when it's the right time for our customer. There will be a right time for the customer to refinance and save them a ton of money. There will be that time, and we
work all the numbers out to see.
Right. We have our own. We have a system here that it keeps an eye on all the interest rates, and as soon as it's feasible for the client to refi, right away we'll call and be like, "Hey, I got good news for you. If we refi right now, it was going to save you." I mean, I have some customer that says, when is the right time for you to refi? Is it when you're saving $300 a month? Is it when I can save you $400 a month? Is it when I can save you $500 a month? So I have those conversations with my clients. And as soon as I reach that threshold, I'm like, hey, I can save you $400 a month. And they go, let's do it.
Okay. But what about again, if you do that, let's say you do that a little bit deep into the loan, and I'm not an expert in this by any means. Let's say you've been paying 5 or 6 years, 7 years, and you're paying, I don't know, your payments are like 80% interest up, like most of it's applied to interest. And then you refinance later to save the $300, $400, $500 a month. But now you're resetting the loan. It's 30 years again. And you're paying.
Well, it's not really resetting the loan, right? Because the balance of the loan, say your original loan was like $385,000, and you have been paying, a couple of years into this loan, and again, we will always try to find help for our customer. So when our system says, hey, this person, this is the right situation for them, it's the perfect time. We have to analyze whether it's a feasible deal for the customer. And like I was telling you before, the loan value changes. It's not going to be like $385,000. At that point, we'll be like $349,000. So you're not restating everything, and the terms sometimes are way better. I have had customers that had a 30-year mortgage, and then when they refinance, they're like, hey, our situation is much better, but I don't want to be in a mortgage for 30. I want to be in a mortgage for 15, right? So there's a strategy behind it. Yeah, there's always a strategy behind it. Some people will say, hey, I have customers right now that they purchase their home 100% cash. And now the guy's like, I need some money. So now he needs a mortgage, right? So there's a strategy behind it. Your home is not just your home. It's also a tremendous asset. I tell people it is a tremendous asset. It's the one thing that will, get you financially way more. It will bring you back up. It will make you more attractive to do business with for every bank if you own your own home. So that's why I try to tell people, like, you need to buy your own home, and then, your financial well-being. That's the first step for your financial well-being. So that's how we operate. There's a lot of strategies and a lot of reasons why people would want to refinance, not just to save themselves $500. There's tax. Sometimes there's tax returns, that tax savings from it. And in this case, I have some customers that have their equity completely tied to their home, and they needed to, buy another property. They needed to put it in their business. So many reasons I refinance people.
There are a lot of moving parts, and that's why you need an expert on your side.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right.
On that note, Marifer, let our listeners know how they could learn more. How could they reach you? How could they connect? If anybody is out there, is in the market for a new home, or is looking to refinance or cash out some equity, how can we reach you?
You can reach me. My website is therightloanforyou.com. And our office number is 954-248-3898. And there's always someone answering the call. And we are ready to we give people a free consultation for any questions. So feel free to reach me anytime.
Beautiful. We will, of course, drop a link in the description below to all of your contact information. So anyone out there that's inclined can reach out. Marifer, thank you for joining us. It was a pleasure getting the opportunity to learn a little bit more about what you do and share it with our great community. So thanks so much.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. It was quite the experience. It was my first podcast interview. So
beautiful. You did great.
Thank you.
You have a lovely day. Thanks everybody for tuning in, and we will catch you all next time on the next episode of the Good Neighbor Podcast. Take it easy.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Good Neighbor Podcast, Cooper City. To nominate your favorite local business to be featured on the show, go to gnpcoopercity.com. That's gnpcoopercity.com, or call 954-231-3170.